So it sat here and smoldered and just, I mean, it filled this thing with smoke. And when my son opened the door to get a fire extinguisher that's always by each door, it put the air to it and it just went whoosh.
We want to revisit a friend of ours that we made a couple of years ago, Mike Nichols, a Woody restorer in Traverse City. Do an update because something recently happened there that we think it's important to bring your attention. All his life work has been either damaged or destroyed. If you're a long-time barn find hunter viewer, you may remember episode 76. We came to this shop, Mike Nichols' Woody restoration business, because I'm a long-time Woody guy, and I've seen his ads in, you know, the Woody Times and probably Hemmings Motor News for 50 years. You know, I was a Woody guy a long time, and he was a Woody guy for even longer. And we saw the beautiful work he did, the craftsmanship of the wood. He was saving original wood of cars that came off, you know, so he didn't have to replace wood with new wood. He could sometimes replace it with old wood, which is pretty cool. The paint work he did, just beautiful, beautiful work. He was so proud of the livelihood he had created for himself. Then the whole Woody world saw the Facebook posts of what happened. So Mike, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We came here to give you our condolences. I happen to be in town. Well,
thanks for visiting, and it's great that you're in town, because this is a great town to be in.
Yeah, it is.
We were out camping a week ago Sunday, and we got an alarm from our security system, but smoke detection and fire detection in our office. We threw the coffee in the car. Lana's getting dressed on the way to here. We're traveling very fast. We came around the corner about 2 miles down the road, and we see the fumes up in the air. I said, Lana, that's us.
Oh, man.
And as we pulled in the driveway, the main front door of our shop with the pole, garage door was totally engulfed. And Pat Parker, the fire chief, says, Mike, I'm sorry, we can't save this part. We want to see what we can see if we can save the rest. And Pat Parker and I were in Boy Scouts together 50 years ago, so we kind of knew each other. So we were able to save a couple of the cars. My Pontiac, 47 Pontiac, and my 34 Ford are total loss.
Oh man!
While you're here, I'll give you a tour of my new shop if you're up to it.
I'd love to.
I can show you what's left of the two in here if you want to see.
Well,
those.
let's see. So these are the two you saved.
These are the
two of the three.
83 Town Country. Mm-hmm. And I think we can save that. It just needs a scrub up and clean up and maybe some ozone in it.
Yep.
And then the ambulance, if you look at it, it's kind of a lot darker at the top than it is at the bottom, so the heat was starting to come down. Yeah, and the inside is the inside's all smoked up too.
Yep.
So, I mean, you can still.
Well, it's literally been through a battle. I mean,
it's been through a war. You better believe it. And we weren't 8 hours after the fire, and we had a guy come in here, and his name was Philip, and he brought 2 boxes of tools, and he says, here, you'll need something to start with. And we said, what's your name? So we can write it down. He said, Philip. What's your last name? Doesn't matter. And he left. Day after the fire, I get a call from a friend of mine in Presque Isle, Maine. And he says, I heard you just had a fire. I says, well, where'd you learn about it? He says, my friend in Nova Scotia called me. I says, how does it get out that fast? So let me give you a tour.
As I remember, you had a long-term restoration in here, a Ford. I think somebody lived outside the country you were restoring it for?
Yes.
It was dark blue. Did that leave?
That left.
Perfect.
And he called me from Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts. This was my office, so to speak, and that's what's left of my 34. And this is the 47 Pontiac.
Is there anything usable on these cars? I see the hood ornaments, the Greyhound.
Yeah, that's
on
my
there.
Greyhound. My brother is an ornamental blacksmith. He's going to make something out of that for me.
Wow.
I'll tell you, it gets so hot in here. If you look at the second window over, you can see the glass is melted.
Yeah.
And glass melts at 25 to 2,900 degrees. This was a hot fire. This building I built when I was in high school. The blocks that are gone up there I laid at night with the car headlights. And in the interview that you did several years ago, we were in this room.
Oh, I remember.
And there was memorabilia all over the place.
Yep.
And it's all gone.
All the toys and stuff.
all
yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
In this corner I had my mother's nurse's uniform from 1928 and my dad's military uniform. We're going to try and see if we can find the buttons and my mother's nurse's pin.
So you know where it was, so you can look in that
other
area.
than that the fire hose is a lot of pressure and
yeah.
it blows stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
The next building we'll look at. So this was a 24 by 40 building. It broke at the intersection there of the roof lines. And I built this one in the 70s when I built my house.
What was that car right there? It's a straight.
That was a
6
1942 Oldsmobile station wagon.
And the vehicle beyond that, is that another Oldsmobile?
That's another Oldsmobile, and that was a 41. So we're here looking down through this area. In here was the main wood shop part. And then this back area was all my patterns and lumber storage.
I
and
remember that. Yeah.
patterns from
Yep.
1929 to 51, all the Ford stuff.
So what do you do about patterns now? Somebody comes to you with a project.
Well, they're going to have something for me to start with.
Oh, look at that. Mercury, Alton's 49. So that's the name in the 1949 Mercury?
Yep, that's a panel off of 49 Mercury. So I have a staff car in the back.
Yep,
Now
I remember
this is
that.
the one you talked about in the episode 3 or 4 years ago. And I think I can save that. We're going to try and turn it and go right through that hole. Just let me go in here by myself.
Yep.
So the fire department let me cover this up.
Was it like about a 46 Ford or something?
It's my 42.
42.
It's hardly charred. It's
Man.
you know, you know,
Wow.
you can do this and it's kind of good.
The roof collapsed around it.
Yeah.
Man. It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
So, and it stopped like right here. So from like this line right here, everything is just smoke and water.
Yeah, right.
So they made this window for me.
Yep. So this looks like it's hardly been touched by the fire.
Just around the corner there, which you can't see, are more doors like this.
Oh, thank goodness.
So see, I got a 36 door here and some 41 stuff.
So is the car in the lift and the car down the ground, are those your cars?
No, this belongs to a customer.
So is that the tractor that the steering wheel was melting in your hand?
Yeah, you can see my.
Handprints? Jeez.
So this side was toward the fire.
Oh, look at that.
Melted this off.
Look at that melted, whatever
Burnt
that
that.
box is.
Burnt the light on the top. Here's my handprints in the wheel.
Man.
This was melted. The seat was starting to go.
But it started and ran. Holy
Started and
mac-
ran, yeah.
Now the Buick is a 53. Did that sustain any damage or?
Very little soot damage.
Mm-hmm.
You can almost go up there with a cloth and wipe it off.
Well, your friend is here, and I'd like
Yeah.
to talk to him about how he was involved in this fire. So Mike Winter is a friend. Well, tell me, you just told me quickly how you were involved in this fire, and your son was involved in it as well.
Well, my wife and I were sitting in the morning having coffee, and we always get the posts on Facebook for our area for the metro, and we seen it come up, and I looked at her and I said, "That's by Mike's house." And at that time, my son, who's a lieutenant on the fire department, was getting off shift, but I texted him and I say, "That's not Mike's place, is it?" And he said, "Unfortunately, yes." And so I just looked at my wife and I just said, I have to go. So by the time I got here, Mike had the ambulance out.
Now, what about the door? You said that they were messing around with the door, and you just said,
Yeah, so at one point,
where was that? Here or here?
It was right here.
Right here,
This
okay.
spot here. They came in here with that big saw, the big power saw, and they were trying to get the door off, and they were having a little bit of a hard time. So we just told them, hey, can you just throw a chain through the windows, and let's wrap it through, and we ripped the door off
With that,
with
or
that little tractor, and
And it
was
just-
and it was muddy here, and well, the car was in park, so actually I kept
Oh, yeah,
jerking
yeah,
it until
yeah.
the car was out. Mike put it in neutral, then we were able to get it away further. And if you look at that Buick over there, it still has the glass all over it from them breaking the windows out on the door to put the chain through it.
my God, and there's a GoFundMe
Yes.
program going on right now.
Can I tell you about that?
Yeah, let's share this mic here.
Yes.
Don't step far from each other.
Okay.
Okay, the GoFundMe page was started by a fellow that has kept me working for about 5 years. And they are just dear, down to earth.
Where do they live?
They're in Lake Orion, Michigan. So there is one more spot I want you to get before you leave.
Okay.
You can kind of get an overview of the whole thing.
Okay.
So we're in the middle of really the center, pretty close to the center of where the fire was. If you look over here, you can see one table saw,
Yeah.
2 table saws, bandsaw, pantograph carver, planer, horizontal belt sander, vertical spindle sander, and there's 2 shapers in that pile. The clamps were hanging on the wall behind my workbench. All my little power tools and clamps and sanders and saws and chisels and all that were along this wall.
Is there any equipment that you had that's not replaceable, as far as vintage equipment, machinery, made for this kind of work that is no longer available?
Not specifically, but this little one over here with the
Yeah.
octagonal holes in it. When I was a kid, I mean like 5 or 6, I can remember that sitting outside our house when my dad built a house down on the bay in 1952, 53, somewhere in there. And it was still running good, and it was a 12-inch Parks planer. And I can't get that one back, but I can replace it with something else.
Sure. Yeah.
And then my pantograph carver is probably not real old, but they don't make it anymore.
Is that a carbon copy?
Yeah, there's a router on one side and a stylus on the
Yeah,
other,
yeah.
and you can, go up and down all around. And I kind of use that for my headers and front and rear headers and side rails and that kind of stuff that had odd shapes that you kind of want to get close so you can slide it into the header or whatever. So,
I mean, you're an amazing human being to be able to, like, just, okay, I'll rebuild this. It's amazing. Thanks for allowing us to.
I wish I
Share
was
this.
younger when I was doing it, but I wouldn't wish this on anybody.
Yeah, I understand. Wow.
We had one gal that lives down the road where they took the tankers to fill up when they shut off the road so the tankers could run back and forth. She stopped by yesterday and she says, I knew it was you. They took our water. I said, well, I'm glad they did, So they went through
I couldn't take a shower.
40,000 gallons of water plus.
40,000, man.
So they had a lot of trucking back and forth.